All right, what's up, guys? I have Jack McColl, one of the bigger names in the business credit world. Today, we're just going to talk more on the different ways to get access to business credit, his opinion on what may be best for most real estate investors. So, yeah, Jack, I
Yeah,
know I've studied the credit stacking a ton, but I honestly don't know much about the done for you. And I feel like most people probably want that. What would you say?
yeah. What's up, Dustin? It's good to be here, and appreciate all the listeners on. For anyone who doesn't know my name or what I do in the credit space, I'm the founder of Credit Stacking, which is a mentorship program of over 3,000 entrepreneurs where I teach the skill of credit to so they can optimize their credit. They can get business funding specifically at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months. I also have a done for you funding service called Scale with Funding and a white label program where 22 other done for you funding companies white label our service. And so the point of me saying all this is I have a lot of experience with helping entrepreneurs and real estate investors get funding. I have data from several thousands of people and several thousands of applications. And so when you have that much data, I think you can help make some really good decisions on how to advise a specific person to optimize their credit and or how to apply to get these really big limits on these business credit cards. But to your question, and I think you asked what to done for you or do it yourself. And anytime you do it yourself, it can generally be a slower process, especially if it's your first time doing it. You probably don't know exactly what to do. And so when you work with, a coach, a consultant, or someone to show you exactly what to do, or a straight up done for you funding company, based on so much experience and data and expertise, you'll know exactly what to do, therefore, most likely getting much better results. But just like any service, most things come at a cost. It's a little bit more expensive to do it not by yourself, but you can move a lot quicker. You can get much better results, etc. And so when I started my journey in credit about 5 years ago, it took me multiple years to figure it out in terms of getting approved for 50 or $100,000 limits. So it's certainly possible you can do it yourself, but the main benefit of working with someone to help you is you're just saving a lot of time and you're getting it just so much quicker and most likely getting way more approved than you otherwise would.
Yeah, it makes sense. One of the last times we spoke, you gave me homework to start Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
I was there for 2 hours yesterday. So I can totally see the benefits of done for you. It all comes down to like per hour where your time is most valuable. So it does make sense.
Yeah, and
And
it's
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 just
really
one card.
it's yeah, it's one card, right? It's really a tricky process, and the whole thing, the first step I always advise people to really focus on is the optimization process. So this is what you're doing on your personal credit profile before the business credit applications. And you can study at a really good school, you can do a bunch of homework in general, and it's very hard to figure out what do the underwriters, what do the banks want to see on a credit profile. You can look in Chat GPT and it'll show some information, but they're very secretive about what exactly they want to see. And a few of the things they would absolutely love to see, and these are things you want to do in optimization before funding, is you want to make sure your average age on your credit profile is over 2 years, ideally over 5 years in terms of average age. In terms of the amount of accounts you have on your profile, the more the better, but you also don't want to open too many too quick. If you open more than two personal credit cards in the recent 6 month window and then apply for a business credit card, you're probably going to get denied because there was too many recently opened credit accounts.
Mhm.
And I only know this because I've just seen it happen so many times where people will apply for three, four personal credit cards and then try to apply for a business credit card, and they'll get denied because of too many recently opened credit accounts. So credit is something you want to build over time. You want to open up one to three personal credit cards every year because the more you have open, the stronger and thicker your credit profile is. But again, you can't just do three in a 6 month period because that will be shooting yourself in the foot. So that's kind of talking about the total amount of accounts open. And then to piggyback on that thought, the type of accounts that you have open on your credit profile is also very important. So getting a credit card from from a credit union does not look as good on your credit report as a credit card from a bank like Chase, Wells
Mm.
Fargo, Citi, or Bank of America, because those are tier one banks. They look better on your profile. So you want to be not only getting personal credit cards at the top banks because they look better on your credit profile, but you're also building a relationship with those top banks when those top banks generally have the good 0% interest business credit cards. So if you're getting those good cards on your credit report, you're building a relationship with a bank that has these good 0% interest business credit cards. You're kind of killing two birds with one stone there. And then the last point I'll make on kind of accounts is you want to be building up your collective credit limits. So if you add up all your credit card limits on primary credit cards that are in your name that you opened, then if you have between $40,000 and $80,000 of collective limits, this is the most ideal spot to be. If you're someone that only has maybe $5,000, $10,000 of collective personal credit limits, that's very, very thin in terms of the collective limits. So you want to be building these collective limits over time. And if you find yourself in that 40 to 80K range, then you're in a really good spot.
Yeah, makes sense. Before I joined credit stacking, I was at 107. Like I
Hmm.
had great credit, but I had been playing the points game so long. I was like, after joining, I was like, so I had to go in and reduce a bunch of limits.
I was gonna say, yeah, we've seen time and time again where actually, if you have above 100K, like you did, Dustin, uh, Chase sometimes denies people for one of their really high, like 50K cards, based on having too much personal credit, and that's something you only figure out by looking at the denial reasons. And so it's like, for example, if someone were to do it themselves, they're like, oh, I have 150K in credit. I have an 800 credit score. I'm in a really good position. They go apply for a Chase business credit card, and maybe they did it with even without a business checking account, and then they get denied for you have too much personal credit. How would they know that 150 is too much personal credit? It sounds like a good thing, right? But
Yeah.
learning those little nuances and just little complexities that the underwriters look for, just it certainly takes experience. And so if you're in a situation like you were in, Dustin, over 100K, I do recommend manually reducing those credit limits so collectively it's under 100K. And if you don't really want to do that, the most important thing to look at is at least don't have over 40,000 at any specific bank. So if you have 50,000 of personal credit just at Chase, at least reduce your Chase personal credit down to 40K. If you have
Mm.
60K at Bank of America, at least reduce the Bank of America collective credit down to 40.
Mm. I didn't know that last one. That's good to know. Yeah, because I've
Yeah, and I
gotten
and
a
and, and I learned that from personal experience because I this is a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I had 60K of personal credit at Chase, and I wanted to get one of the big 50 to 75K Chase 0% interest business cards. And I'm like, perfect. I have a great relationship. My business is a couple years old. I have the bank account at Chase. I have the personal credit cards. I should easily get this 50K card. I didn't get approved for it. Right? I think I got 15K approved, not 50. And they said it's because I had so much personal exposure, personal credit limits at Chase, which is why they didn't give me more on the business side. So that's when I
yeah.
learned, okay, 60K at Chase is too much on the personal side. I should reduce that down to 40. I think that's kind of the sweet spot you want to stay under.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, because I mean, with your RMs I've gone through, I've gotten the 50K card and it was pretty simple, surprisingly simple. Like I was at a SubTo event and I couldn't really do much and hopped on the call with her and it was easy, fast. Um, so one question, a, a lot of people in the real estate world, I notice 80%, they're like ultra visionary type, extreme ADHD, like shiny object. Would you say that in general, and this is my bias, would you say that for a lot of those people, the done for you business credit is probably more appropriate?
I mean, it really depends. Um, I think if saving time and maximizing your effort to making sure you're getting good results, I think it's a no-brainer. And most, or a lot of real estate investors I know are very busy. They're dealing with several deals at the same time. And for them, if they get 150K in a 2 month process versus like by having help doing that versus maybe getting 80K doing it themselves over 6 months,
Yeah.
by having the help, you're getting more funding approved and you're getting it in a much less time. So you can actually inject that money into your deals much quicker. And of course, time value of money, the sooner you get the money, the sooner you can deploy it and sooner you can make money and get all the amazing benefits in real estate. So it really depends. But I think if you have opportunity, here's how I'll boil it down. If you have opportunity in front of you, I think it's a no-brainer to get help and have professionals help you do it to get good results very quick so you can inject that money right into the opportunity. But if you're someone that's maybe newer in real estate, you don't have too much opportunity yet, you have a ton of time on your hands and you want to learn a new skill, then that would be a better person to do it themselves. They have the time, they want to learn a new skill, then it might make more sense to kind of just figure it out yourself. It will take time. You probably will make some mistakes and you'll probably get, probably decent funding, probably not exceptional, but at least you can learn it yourself. It would save you some money, et cetera. So it kind of comes down to how much you want to maximize your efforts and how quick you want it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Um, so one question, maybe we could talk through the steps. So regardless of here's a hypothetical scenario, but I think a scenario a lot of people I know are gonna go through. Let's say they're buying a pad split. Now, just using average data, when it's done right, the average pad split after management fees, utilities, debt service, everything is 1,500 net. Like that's what goes in your pocket if you do it right. Knowing that, and then let's say to get a property like that, it's gonna cost maybe 80K. A lot of the cards are 0% for 12 to 18 months. What are some next steps for when they lose that 0% period? Um, to not get hit with the big interest rates. I know like one of them maybe being balance transfer, but I was curious if there are other alternatives out there as well.
Yeah, so there's really two options at that point, two immediate options, I would say. The first is to get approved for more 0% cards at other banks and then do a balance transfer or liquidate the new credit on those new cards and then pay the old balance off, which essentially transfers the balance. So that's one, just get more capital approved at other banks. And one thing I'll mention there, it's if you have multiple business entities, it becomes easier to get more funding. If you just have
Hmm.
one business entity, options run out sooner than if you had multiple business entities. So if you're listening to this call and you only have one business entity, just go file a second LLC, even if you don't use it now in 3, 6, 12 months when you might need more capital, it can certainly come in handy. So that's what I'll mention there as the first option. And if someone only gets approved for 80K, then it gives them a better ability to get more on the second round. If someone goes through one round of funding right now and gets a whopping 225,000 approved, it then makes it harder to get another 225K approved on the second round because the first round was so successful. So generally where I see limits come back on a total standpoint is between 70 and 175,000. Sometimes we get people for 250K, sometimes 265, but sometimes lower, closer to 40, 50. It just depends on the credit profile, depends on the business, the relationship they have with the bank, et cetera. But generally, it's between 70 and 175. So again, the first option is you get that 80K, you deploy that into the real estate property, you make that return over the 12 months. You're not going to pay the card off in full, so you're going to need another alternative. So to boil it down on option one, at that point, then you apply for more business credit cards at other banks, and ideally you have a second entity, so it gives you more options. So the second funding alternative option is to get business lines of credit that can help bridge any payments that you need. So say, for example, you get a $50,000 business line of credit approved at Wells Fargo or at Chase between 10 and 15% interest with the current interest rates, and hopefully, those will go down. But currently, you can get approved for business lines of credit between 10 and 15%. And a lot of them you can get approved with showing no tax returns or no proof of income. Specifically at Wells Fargo, Truist is another good option of a no doc up to 50K business line of credit. KeyBank is another good up to 50K no doc business line of credit. And Chase sometimes asks for documents, sometimes they don't. If you bank at Chase, they can see the liquidity, they can see the cash flow. They're less inclined to ask for the proof of income, et cetera. But that's where I would put the second option is business lines of credit, where I say, you pay off half the card or 40% of the card, whatever that comes out in the first year. And then you have the second half to pay off. If you put that on a business line of credit where you're only paying 10 to 15%, it still sounds quite profitable.
Yeah. So it's really as long, from what I understand at least, like going through your program, as long as your personal side stays clean, it's like, and you have two entities, there's always something that can be done, right?
Yeah,
Or
and that's a really good point you mentioned that because sometimes I take it for granted that people understand that business credit cards don't report to the business credit profile. So that's the huge advantage because business credit cards don't report to the personal credit profile. So you can max the cards out, it doesn't affect your personal credit unless you default on the business debt, then it will report. But if you have, to your point, Dustin, if you keep good strong, optimized personal credit profile, there are generally more options for you to get approved for more business credit cards, and specifically more if you have more than one entity.
yeah, no, it's exciting because I know a lot of the people I know, especially in the corporate W-2 world, they have no idea how they're going to get out of that world. So that's why I've taken such a passion towards this, you could say. Like, because if somebody buys one, two, three properties like this, like their life dramatically changes. Like maybe not at the very beginning, but in 10 years, all that equity that they're building and cash flow, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think just helping someone get their first property, their first deal,
Yeah,
then it just kind of it breaks so many barriers. After like doing something the first time is the hardest. And then once you do it the first time, you're like, okay, it's really not as bad as I thought, most likely.
yeah,
And they're like, okay, well, now I have way more confidence to do a second, a third. And then when you think about it, once you have 10 properties, whether it takes a few years to get at what you just mentioned, Dustin, the average pad split netting $1,500 a month, times that by 10 properties, you have a pretty good income right there just on the side. And you have a house manager managing most of it for you. And then you
yeah,
have potential tax benefits, and then you have the equity you're building in all those 10 deals. And then you're really setting yourself up for a pretty good life.
yeah, absolutely. I guess lastly, before I stop recording, is there anything that any tips for someone that wants to learn a little bit more about business credit for them to feel more comfortable, like YouTube, Facebook page, or Instagram, anything like that that they could check out?
Yeah, I have some pretty good podcasts on YouTube. I think if you just go to maybe youtube.com/Jack McColl or just search my name, Jack McColl, in YouTube, you'll see my channel. I post a bunch of um, podcasts there. I've done several dozen, and I post my favorite right on the top of my channel. So I'd give those a look. They're very with really good tangible strategies to teach you how to optimize credit, really kind of how to do it yourself, et cetera. But yeah, if anyone does want additional help and they want to learn about what the done for you funding program looks like, Dustin will drop his link, I believe, below this video. So click that link, schedule a call with Alex on my team. We'll outline what that process looks like to see if you'd be a good fit for the Done For You program. But results have really never been better. We're getting people approved for a very good amount of 0% interest capital on a daily basis. And it's a big strategy. There's a lot that goes into it. And we have just a really big team to help everyone through it. So if you're interested, click the link down below or just go to my YouTube channel in the meantime.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. All right,
Cool.
guys. Thanks.
Yes.
Check it out. Check out the links below.